a magia do futebol. Somos diferentes, mas torcer nos faz parecidos. Não importa se você assiste com a camisa da sorte, no bar com amigos ou em casa na poltrona.
Preparou, vai bater, pegou! Gol!
Se você é o que grita mais alto, o que só comemora depois do replay, cada um torce do seu jeito. Coca-Cola, torcer é pra todos.
Meu nome é Cairo Santos e eu sou kicker e único brasileiro jogando na NFL. Cada chute, cada jarda conquistada, cada passo me levou para mais perto dos meus sonhos. Agora, a cada R$200 em compras com seu Visa cadastrado, você tem a chance de ficar mais perto do sonho de assistir ao Super Bowl 59. E usando o seu cartão de débito, você ainda concorre a prêmios diários de até R$1.000. Não importa o tamanho do seu sonho, dê o primeiro passo. Visa, apoiando seus passos aonde você quiser chegar.
Não é tempo técnico, mas é intervalo aqui no podcast. Já imaginou se seu time tivesse um seguro para não perder nunca? Pois é, isso não existe. Mas com a Zurich Seguros, quem não perde nunca é você. Na Zurich Seguros, os planos se adequam às suas necessidades em qualquer momento da sua vida. Seja seguro de auto, residência, vida e muito mais. Diferente de alguns times, na Zurich Seguros você pode confiar. Para saber mais, acesse zurich.com.br ou consulte seu corretor.
Welcome to the Eagles Checkdown, the fastest under 10-minute Eagles podcast there is, right here on the Eagles Pin Pull Podcast Network, bringing you news, notes, opinions of your favorite team, the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's Wednesday, November 6th, the day after the NFL trade deadline, and the Eagles stayed quiet. There were no moves, no trades from the Philadelphia Eagles, from Howie Roseman on Tuesday at the deadline, as a lot of people wanted and a lot of people expected Howie Roseman to make. But there have been little nuggets throughout the weeks leading to this deadline that made us realize they probably wouldn't be making a move. And let's break it all down. We'll get to the bigger moves that were made at the deadline around the NFL in a few moments, because there were a few. And yes, the Lions got better. Yes, the Washington Commanders got better. But the Eagles stand pat. The Eagles are 6-2. The Eagles have won 4 in a row. The Eagles have done all this despite injuries to Jordan Mailata, Dallas Goedert, another A.J. Brown injury looming here where we're still trying to wait for word on Wednesday's practice to see what his status is going to be. But the Eagles are one of the only teams in the NFL with a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense, despite all these issues, despite the early season struggles. They've developed Nakobe Dean and Zach Bond into one of the best linebacker duos in football. They've got Cooper DeJean on the up, paired with Quinion Mitchell for a lockdown secondary. And I didn't even mention Darius Slayton missing the last game as well. So the Eagles stayed pat. And I wonder how much of it was, A, the cost of some of these players and what was out there and who was out there. B, a simple fact, as Vic Fangio said, it's very hard to bring somebody in mid-season and find success right away. And I think that kind of goes towards the fact that if you look at Howie Roseman's history, over the last few years, I mean, outside of 2017 with Jay Ajayi being added to the LeGarrette Blount backfield of the Eagles, which we did win a Super Bowl that year, that most moves that Howie Roseman and teams make around the trade deadline in general don't really lead to massive success for those teams. I mean, you could talk about Kevin Byard last year. We bring him in for our secondary. We went 1-6 after bringing him in. Robert Quinn, even though we went to the Super Bowl in 2022, bringing him in for a draft pick. He had 0 sacks over his 6 games. It's not as easy as it seems to find a piece and instantly in the middle of the season when there's no bye week left for the team and to be able to get them integrated right away into a new team and have success with that new team. So maybe Howie Roseman just realized, look, I've got what I've got. I'll have Dallas Goedert coming back soon. That's like acquiring a trade. I'll get Jordan Mailata back. That's like acquiring someone in a trade. Darius Slay will be back. Acquiring someone in a trade. Hell, A.J. Brown will be back soon. Acquiring somebody in a trade. Sure, we would have liked another pass rusher. But maybe there's something still there with Bryce Huff. Maybe. Nolan Smith has been getting better and better week in and week out. Maybe this team without making trades will continue to get better. Some of the trades around the NFL. Washington gave up a third, fourth, and a sixth-round pick for defensive back Marcus Lattimore, who's a very good cornerback. Is that going to push Washington from, fighting the Eagles for first place in the division, in the NFC East, to a lock? Maybe. Yes, the Detroit Lions traded for Zadarius Smith, a defensive end, an edge rusher that the Eagles fans wanted. It was a pretty cheap deal. They got him for a fifth and a sixth-round pick. Jonathan Mingo, wide receiver Panthers, went to Dallas for a fourth-round pick, which was crazy. The Jets traded Mike Williams, the wide receiver, injured wide receiver, to the Steelers for a fifth-rounder. Khalil Herbert, running back of the Bears, went to the Bengals late in the deadline deal, right before the deadline ended. Preston Smith, edge linebacker from Green Bay, went to the Steelers. So there were some moves today. But do any of these moves scream changing the trajectory of a team? I don't think it does. And I think the fact that the Eagles, I was looking right before recording this here, I was looking at the odds. The Eagles have moved up in Super Bowl betting odds. They're now the fifth betting favorite to win the Super Bowl this year. Jalen Hurts has moved up the MVP board. So without making moves, the Eagles are still ascending. The Eagles are still getting better week in and week out. And yes, we've got Dallas this week. It is Dallas Sucks week, and we'll start diving into Dallas Sucks on Thursday's show. But, after that, you do have Washington. You do have Baltimore. You have some tough games. Then it gets easy again towards the end of the season. And you're going to get healthier. You're building confidence with Jalen Hurts. Why try to mix it? If people wanted another wide receiver, I hinted that I might have wanted a backup running back. There's going to be guys on the waiver wire. The best midseason additions over the last couple of years were when, after the deadline, we added Ndamukong and Suh and Linville Joseph, as free agents. So that still is another option for Howie. Maybe you add a running back, maybe you add an edge rusher. Maybe I'll actually do some research before Thursday or Friday show and see who's available out there to be picked up. And guys are going to get cut now. The Eagles did make one move. They cut Albert O, tight end. There's another trade that Howie made before the season, but early or late in the offseason last year that didn't work out. He was cut by the Eagles finally, which is fine. He never did anything anyway for this team. But, maybe with all these guys coming back and with Jalen Hurts and the offense finally clicking under Kellen Moore, and with the defense finally figuring out their responsibilities and roles under Vic Fangio, maybe it was in the best interest to save these draft picks. We don't have a lot of cap space next offseason. You got guys that need extensions. It's very important when you've got a lot of high-priced players. Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Your entire offensive line pretty much locked up long-term. Jalen Carter's a year away from getting an extension. Jordan Davis, you're going to have to make that decision soon. You need young, controllable players. And the Eagles did not want to risk their first, second, third, or fourth-round pick this year for a player, a rental, for a Max. You couldn't get Max Crosby or Myles Garrett or any of these guys with the cap hits. Simmons from Titans. The cap hits on these guys would have basically just written you off for the offseason. So, where we stand right now, standing pat, might have actually been the best course of action for the Eagles, for Howie Roseman here going throughout the year. It sounds like the coaches are on board with it. It sounds like it was the right move to make. Time will tell if Howie Roseman was right or not, and we'll see. But, none of the names that were moved today, maybe Zadarius Smith would have made a big impact on the Eagles here, or at least some form of an impact. But that's about it, in my opinion. Guys, this is the Eagles Checkdown. I'm Phil Stiefel. I host Trending in the AM, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., the only morning show on YouTube where your opinions actually matter. 3 years running, every single day on YouTube. So I linked it down in the description of this video, or in this audio. So if you'd like to tune in and have your opinions on this and other things in Philadelphia sports heard, click copy and paste the link, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and join the conversation on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, any day of the week, guys. I'd greatly appreciate it. But again, this is the Eagles Checkdown, the fastest under 10-minute Eagles podcast there is. I am Phil Stiefel, right here on the Eagles Pinpool Podcast Network. Go Birds, and bubbles up to you.